You know, something else I was thinking of that's really neat, and it helps kind of go along with that cage system um, as you kind of progress in being able to. It helps with your fretboard fluency. So it allows you to move up and down the neck better. So it's all based on octaves. So one of the biggest things, one of the biggest realizations I had in playing, it took a long time to realize, is everything is a pattern. Everything on the guitar is a pattern. And all of your patterns repeat somewhere. So you can play the same notes in 5 or 6 different positions on the neck, and it'll be the same exact notes. They may be different octaves, but it'll be the same notes. And so what that allows you to do is it allows you to create some interesting melodic runs, intervals, patterns. But the fact that everything is a pattern and repeats on the guitar, and it's all based around octaves, and the note's relation to an octave, it really unlocks the fretboard. It makes it very easy. Once you understand octaves and their position, those are really the guiding points for being able to move up and down the fretboard. Again, it's amazing how well it works, and it really does open your mind up to things. And once you see where the octaves are and you understand the cage system, then as you integrate those two things together and you see where the octaves are inside those patterns of the cage system, that allows you to just run wild with whatever melody you have in your head, or being able to figure out melodies from the radio or a song or something, because you know where the shapes are, you know where the notes are, just all based on the octaves. So what I mean by that is, so like let's play with some octaves. Let's octave G. So there's your low G, E string, 3rd fret. Your octave is just 8 notes higher in the major scale, 12 half steps. So so you know that there's your G. So your next octave for your G would be 3rd fret D string, or 5th fret D string. Okay. 12 half steps, or 8 whole steps above that, 8 major steps above that, is going to be the 8th fret on the B string. Okay. And so if you look at these patterns, so there's kind of the basis for the E shape of the cage system. Now this is still a G chord, but it is the E shape. So there's your octave, there's your E shape, that's your E shape. There's your octave, well, there's your D shaped. Here's your next octave for the G. We just figured out where that one was, so it's right there. Well, that's your C shaped. There's your same note we discovered there. Your octave right there. So 2 frets up, 2 strings up. Well, there's your A shape. There's your octave there. There's your octave there. And there's your octave there. So there's your G shape. So once you learn the pattern of the octaves, that pattern is the same for any note on the fretboard. It will just be in a different position, but the pattern will be the same. Just like the patterns for the cage system will be the same, just in different positions, depending on what root note you're basing your chord off of. But what that allows you to do, it allows you to do some neat things. So say you just pick 3 notes and you want to do a cool run and cover the fretboard. And this is just with 3 notes. So 5 or 3, 5, 7 on the E. Well, if we know where our octaves are, we know that that note is the same as that note. That note is the same as that note, and that note is the same as that note, because they're all octaves of each other. So same thing when you go to the next octave up. It's just with 3 notes, and I can run it up and down the entire fretboard. So, and you could do something, even a different pattern. So like, say you want to run 6 notes, a 6-note pattern. Because of the layout on the strings, this will, for the most part, be the same up and down the neck. There is a slight shift between the G string and the B string because of the tuning of the guitar, but it's easy to figure out. Ran out of frets, but damn it. So, but that's where, you know, you can use octaves in your benefit, and you can be able to run things up and down the neck based on that. Once you know where your octaves are. And so really the beauty comes in that once you know where your octaves are, the shape of your octaves, and your caged system, and the shapes and how they relate and move up and down the fretboard, then you can, instead of just focusing on one chord, like a C chord, the notes of the C chord, you can implement this in your songs or your music you're playing. So say you have a chord progression that goes C, G, D. Okay, so you've got, well, now you know, so you've got your C, G, D, C, G, D. Well, now that you know that, and you know that you can play those same notes in different positions with those different shapes of the cage system, and you know your octaves, this is like combining, so you've taken your cage system and you've taken your octave knowledge, you're combining those, so you got to have a good understanding and play around with those. Then once you understand how all that stuff works together, which can take some time to see the patterns and get fluent with it towards muscle memory, then you can combine that stuff with multiple chords into a song, which is kind of the third layer of integration of that, which really, the first two things, octaves and cage system, open a lot of doors and allow you to see patterns and stuff. But adding those extra chords in a chord progression, like a song, really opens the door to a lot of different melodic ideas, melodic patterns, being able to move up and down the fretboard and create actual music instead of just the same notes of a single chord, like the same notes of a C chord, following the octaves in the cage system. So like if you have, a C, G, and a D, you can now do something like and that really opens things up to where you can run up the entire, like a C. Your D. It really does open up the doors and allows you to play a lot of different things. But know where all your octaves are, understand the cage system, and then once you understand those two things, start incorporating other chords into that caged system, that caged pattern system, along with your octaves. And then that's really where things start getting interesting, because Yeah, I threw a few extra. I threw a couple A's in there and a couple E chords in there. But same thing. Once you know octaves, you can play around with it, and then you can play whatever's in your head. So.